Hi everyone, and welcome to a beginner's guide on journaling. I think this could be really helpful for you guys or anyone to start a journey of journaling and thinking. It's a way of thinking about things and writing down your prayers. There's so many different types, so I will start you off with a guide today. So, what is journaling? So there's loads of different types. If you go on Pinterest, which is something I love doing, you'll get loads of inspiration. You'll see just how many types there are. So there are things like something called bullet journaling. This is a way of doing lists or tracking, I don't know, how much water you drink, your exercise, your sleep. It's really creative and it's really inspirational, but I'm not going to be talking about this today. But I can do if you'd like me to do another one. There's art journaling, which is kind of like bullet journaling, but that's more, finding quotes and maybe Bible verses and making them look creative on a page. This is where you might see things like calligraphy and really creative ways coming out. That's another thing that I can do another time. I also like that to do sermon notes. So when I write my sermon notes, you might have seen it, that I try and do it a bit more creatively. That's mostly to make it stick in my head, be a good way of keeping my attention during a sermon as well, and just to look back and think, that's really cool. But the one I'm going to talk to you today about is written journaling. So it's kind of like keeping a diary, and I found this really helpful. So I've been journaling like this for about 3 months now, coming up to 4. So I definitely find it an exercise, find it a discipline, and I find it a way of tracking things that I can look back on another time and think, wow, I've come through on like such a journey with that problem, or wow, look at like the great year I've had, things like that. Why do I journal? Again, like I just said, I like to look back on a journey, so I'm hoping that in a year, maybe a couple of years, I can look back at these journals and think, yeah, that's cool. I've loved actually looking back and I totally forgot about that happening or anything like that. For me, it's also a way of processing my thoughts. So I always find that I need to process my thoughts by talking to someone. So it's really helpful, especially if it's something you're going through that maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to someone about, or maybe it's just quite fresh, so you don't want to talk about it yet, or maybe you haven't found the right person to talk about it with. So I find it a really helpful way, because hopefully no one's going to read it, and if they do, then they're in trouble. It's also a way of kind of processing your thoughts in terms of if you're praying, your journal can kind of be a way of helping you to do that, talking to God and getting your thoughts down onto paper. I also find it a really calming activity. So if I'm finding things quite stressful at the time, then I can kind of get those thoughts that are keeping me awake or just stressing me out, and almost just like put them on paper and close my book, and it's there and not in my head. So again, processing, but also like just a way of kind of closing it away, which I find really helpful. I just find it a really helpful way of just processing my thoughts, calming me down. I often do mine just before I go to bed. So it's a way of kind of closing down my day, going back over the day and thinking what's happened, what am I thankful for, and I'll get more into that in a moment. So you might wonder, how do I journal? And I had a question about this, like, when I've tried to journal, I just don't know what to put, which I think is normal, because I do that every day. I'm kind of like, I don't want to start it every day going, today I did this, I want to shake it up a little bit. But the truth is, like, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So what I try and do is I try and say like how I'm feeling that day, go over my day and kind of process like the thoughts I've been through. If it's been a good day, then it's probably going to be more positive thoughts, saying, oh, this was good about my day, and listing, being quite specific on what has happened during that day. Kind of, if I've had a really exciting day, maybe I'll say what was exciting about it, not just it was an exciting day. Because remember, when we're looking at thinking back after a while, you want it to spark memories, you want to remember what happened. So if you just wrote I was excited that day or I was worried that day, you're probably going to be sitting there thinking, I wish I could remember what that was about. So try and be specific. So yeah, I go over my day, say what I did, say how I was feeling about things. I try and be quite random and silly in mine, just because most of the day, most of the time, because I do it before bed, I'm tired anyway, and I get a bit silly like when I'm tired. So I might find a few like add-ons, like sometimes I write LOL just because I've made myself laugh or something. Sometimes I draw little drawings. Yeah, really silly, but it's your journal, and like I said, hopefully people aren't going to be reading it, so you can be free to do what you want in it. Yeah, be silly. I go deep as well, so don't be afraid to go deep, because this is a really good place to do that, especially if you're using it as a way of like praying, processing thoughts and things like that. Let it be a place where you can vent, you can get your thoughts down, you can get your emotion down, as well as expressing the good things. Because I think when you're processing thoughts, a lot of the time the thoughts you're going to need to process are probably more the negative ones. I already know from the past like 3 months that I've been doing it, I can already see a journey through what I've been going through, just various like anxious thoughts and things like that, and I can already see how journaling has made me kind of find my own like rhythm of things, actually process things and think, why am I being so silly about that? Or okay, I felt like that then, and I feel better after talking to someone. So it's kind of just tracking those thoughts and that journey, which I find really helpful. So make sure you do put everything down that will make you realise what you've been going through and help you to understand that journey a bit more. I also write my prayers, so it might be that at the end of each day I often put tonight I'm praying for ... and I say what I'm praying for. Often I've been writing about it in my day, but sometimes it's just random. But I think it's a really good way of expressing things to God, almost like a summary. So saying, right, okay, so I've told you about this, so this is what I want to pray for. I've had ones that are like, so tonight I'm praying for this problem to be resolved, or tonight I'm praying that tomorrow can be a more positive day, or tomorrow can be as great as today. Trying to be honest, but yeah, trying to put things down that are going to both spark a bit of joy, but also like write down the honest things if things need to be honest and not so positive. So I thought I'd show you my journal now. I'm not going to show you everything because obviously it's a bit private, but this is my journal, and it's got these things just to prompt me. But this is a very basic lined notepad. I bought mine from Amazon, but you can buy it from anywhere. Use whatever you've got, especially at the moment when we can't go out and buy things. But yeah, I only use it for journaling. I think that's really helpful. I know that this is my journaling notepad, and yeah, you won't get confused with like putting any other notes in it or things like that. I find it really helpful for it to have a divider thing, so it's not in there at the moment, but you don't need it, but I just find it easy to, like, you know, put it in at the end of the day and I know what page I'm on. It also has a elastic thing, so it keeps it nice and secure. Obviously the other things you will need is just a simple pen. So for mine, I'll take you through it in a minute, but I use a normal biro for the writing bit, but I also use colouring pens. So I use these ones, but you know, these are the fine tip ones, so just an idea, like gel pens, whatever. So yeah, I find just to add a bit of colour and some just brighten it up really. But you can do what you want. This is your free moment to be inspired and do what you want. You can write in pencil all you care. So I put my name in it just in case I lose it and people can be like, you know, there you go, have it back. Okay, so where to start? Okay, so I do it because I do it as, like, I try and do it daily, but one thing I will say is don't beat yourself up if you don't do it daily, because sometimes, especially because I do it before bed, I either forget or I'm too tired, and that is okay. So don't beat yourself up thinking, oh, I forgot to do it again. Obviously, if you're going on a long run of not doing it, then maybe you need to try and get back into the discipline. But yeah, don't be too worried if you miss a couple of days. So what I do at the start of each month is I try and do like a cover page. So I'll show you a couple. So January, obviously fireworks and all that, I did just a simple like firework thing, and I've written the month. I've also done, I won't show you that, but February. And I didn't know what to do for March, so I just did some flowers. I've got to think of one to do for April, but yeah. So yeah, that is my cover. That's how I start each month. And then what I do is I just go onto a new page. So I'll make that like one page. And what I'll do is I'll show you on a blank page, so you don't accidentally read any of my private journal. So what I do is I like to take a coloured pen, and what I do is write the date. So today is the 31st. It's a bit cold out here, so my hands aren't really working that. So I simply just write 31st, and then I take a black pen, and obviously you don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you what I do to give you a bit of inspiration. And it is Tuesday, so I try and do this in like nice writing. So that is basically how I start. It's back to front on my screen, hopefully it'll flip, but you get the idea. And then what I do is simply, that's when I just go get my normal pen and throw down my thoughts. So it might be like, some days will be like a little bit, some days might be a page, 2 pages, whatever's going on in that day. Yeah, you can write as long as you want, because, you know, as long as you're getting things down that you think are good for that day, then who cares how long it is. Yeah, if you're going 3 pages per day, then all that's happening is you might just have to spend longer doing it and then buy another journal a bit sooner. That's it. So yeah, and what I do at the end of the day is just put a squiggly line down it. So I would have written that there and then done a line to say that I'm done, and then the next day all I need to do is just put the next date and carry on. So another thing that someone asked me was, when they when they're journaling, they try and write like journally, but they don't know like what kind of language to use and what kind of how to start it, kind of thing. And I would say just like try and treat it, I guess in a way it's like a Dear Diary kind of thing, because you're kind of writing and logging your day by day. So you could write it like Dear Journal, or write it to yourself. So I could say like Dear Abby, if you're gonna read it and like a while later. Or the way I do it is just write it as if you're telling a friend. Like, today I don't know, went to work, I did some exercise, I spent all day sitting in bed because I had nothing better to do, you know, things like that. So just write normally. I basically write in my journal how I would talk, and that's quite informally. And I just have a bit of fun with it. And like I said, you know, sometimes that means I'm writing silly things like LOLs or doing silly little doodles with it. Why not? So yeah, I thought I'd just finish with some top tips and get you started. Okay, so top tips. Top tip number 1. Try to do a little bit each day. Yeah, like I said, it's really helpful to try and track it for as many days as possible, so you can see that trend of things that have happened, track that journey, and yeah, it's only going to help you to do that if you try and do a little bit each day. Doesn't need to be 2 or 3 pages per day, it can literally be a couple of lines, but just to get something down each day would be really helpful. Yeah, tip number 2, try to be disciplined with it. Again, going back to number 1, but don't beat yourself up or stress yourself out. If you are getting to the point where like every night you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh no, I haven't journaled, you know, I feel really bad, or you're waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh no, I did it again, I didn't do it, that's not going to help you. So try to be disciplined, but don't beat yourself up if you miss a couple of days. Maybe that means you need to think better about when you're doing it. If you're constantly being too tired before bed to do it, maybe find a little bit of time in the evening, earlier on in the evening, to think, okay, I can do it then. And then, you know, if you do get tired, then yeah, whatever. But yeah, don't get too stressed out, because this needs to be something that you enjoy doing, not a burden, basically. Tip number 3, just give it a try. You never know how helpful it could be. You might not like it, and that'll be okay, but maybe you'll find a love for it. It might take a while to get your style. I know it did for me, and it might not ever kind of be what you want it to be. I know I look on Pinterest and I'm like, oh, why aren't I journaling like that? Why can't I journal like that? But, you know, we've all got different gifts, and actually, you know, it doesn't need to be a piece of art that they're going to put in an art museum or anything. This is just a way of you being creative, but also just getting down your thoughts. So it doesn't need to be perfect. And just give it a try. Just, you know, don't worry if you're making mistakes. Just cross it out. Again, like I've been saying all the way through, hopefully people aren't going to read it. So this is just you. If you're a perfectionist like me, you might get a bit stressed at, like, you know, a couple of mistakes here and there, but you probably make mistakes when you're talking anyway. I know I do. I've made loads of mistakes. But yeah, so if you're just being natural, then just make the mistakes, cross them out, it's fine. If you're talking to God or if you're just journaling, you're still going to get the same idea of what you meant. So yeah, so do a little bit each day. Try to be disciplined, but don't get yourself too stressed out, and just give it a try. I really encourage you to just try journaling. That would be like, especially in times like this where you're at home, and actually a lot of the time you know, with times like this, anxiety is probably going to be a bit higher. You're going to have a lot of thoughts that, you know, you need to process because it isn't just a normal time. And this is a really good way of helping get down those thoughts. And actually it'd be really interesting. I'm really interested in looking back in like a year's time, or maybe even longer, to actually like see, maybe we're like a year later and everything, all this has passed, hopefully, and life's gone back to its new normal, whatever. And it would be funny just to look back and think, oh wow, do you remember when we had that time when we had to sit at home and do everything in such a different way? Like, to look back at my thoughts of what I was going through at this time could be quite cool. Help or inspiration, then talk to me, or go to places like Pinterest. There's so many ways to find some inspiration and help. But yeah, there's no right or wrong way. I hope this has been helpful for you, and if you would like me to do a part 2 on a bit of like Bible journaling or more creative journaling, like that bullet journaling I told you about, or how I do sermon notes, then let me know and I can definitely do another one. Yeah, have fun journaling.